Bioenergetics and metabolism. This may be a chapter that you've avoided in the past in other classes and dreaded, but it's really extremely important for a couple of reasons. One is you need to be able to understand the energy systems that you're training with when you're putting together routines, or whether you're putting together training programs for your athletes. And also you need to be able to understand metabolism, because a lot of the supplements that you see on the market today, they all have mechanisms of action, and a lot of these relate to metabolism. So if we look at the goals for this section, we're going to look at the energy for cellular activity, which comes in the form of ATP. We're going to look at the three basic energy systems. We're going to look at the relationship between these systems, and then as well as the energy contributions from different activities. And then lastly, we'll look at the nutrient use during rest and exercise. When we look at metabolism, you probably heard of this before, or maybe you've seen it on one of your chemistry professor's doors where they've got this crazy drawing of all these metabolic processes. But metabolism basically is the total of all the chemical reactions that occur in your body, and we break these down into what we call anabolic reactions and catabolic reactions. Anabolic reactions are those reactions where we take smaller molecules, put them together to form larger ones, like we take amino acids and form them into proteins. Or what we'll focus on in this section really is the catabolic reactions, which are those reactions where we take larger molecules and break them down for energy. And these catabolic reactions will occur when we break down proteins, fats, and carbohydrate. And as we break down these macronutrients, or sometimes we call it food stuff, into energy, that the term is called bioenergetics. Bioenergetics. I wanted to show you at the outset here of what a typical cell looks like. You probably studied this before, but what I want to point out are a couple things here. One is on the left, what you see is this typical cell. This is how you see it drawn in a biology textbook. But realize a muscle cell, and that's where we're actually going to, right? Because when we talk about exercise, we really look at skeletal muscle. The exercising muscle is not, and muscle in general is a cylindrical cell. And so a muscle fiber is the same thing as a muscle cell, and it runs the entire length of the muscle. And so, for instance, your biceps brachii, it would start up at your shoulder and go all the way down to your elbow. So again, the muscle cell is the same thing as a muscle fiber. And as we look at this cell, there are a couple of important parts to note. One is the soup of the cell, and you see it here, it's called the cytoplasm, the soup of the cell, and then also this little organelle here, which is called the mitochondria. The reason I'm pointing these two aspects of the cell out are that this is where these metabolic processes will take place. What we do is we take food, as you consume the food, you digest it, break it down to its simplest form, and eventually it's converted into one molecule, and that molecule is ATP. So energy is transferred from the food sources to our cells and to be stored as ATP. And so ATP is the higher energy compound stored in the cell. Sometimes if you look over here, I call it the energy currency of our cell, because it's the only thing that our body can use for fuel. So we have to break the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins down to get there. And so all sources of energy then during rest and exercise come in the form of ATP. And here's a quick structure. Here's what we know about ATP. We only have a limited amount. If I were to take the ATP in your body and break it down into liquid form, put it into liquid form, it would only be about 4 to 6 ounces. And so we must continually regenerate that. And we'll talk about how we're going to do that in our next section.